Welcome to the Mother May I podcast with Frank and Irene on Strong Island Entertainment. Gee, I hope I didn't make a mistake with these two. They promised me they'd bring in some really good guests. Well, anyway, here's Frank and Irene.
Welcome to Mother May I podcast with Frank and Irene. Frank, I miss the shit out of you. How are you, Mr. Conniff?
I'm good. I miss you too.
I know. We usually see each other more than time is lapsing. It's been awful.
A big divide because I live in New York City and you live in Staten Island. So that's
and I live in a toilet bowl. You can go ahead and say that, Frank. No matter how much Pete Davidson is trying to put it on the map, let me tell you something about Staten Island. So I don't know if I told you this, Frank, but I was recently diagnosed with Lyme disease.
Oh my God, that's awful. I didn't hear that because you had COVID too, right?
Yeah, because I'm lucky. Yeah, some people they're just fortunate.
I know Chris Christie has key Lyme disease. He's a man, but.
Oh my God, I would rather have key Lyme disease. Now, Frank, do you know why? So here's the deal, and I just wanted to quickly talk about this. Frank, I always told you about my doctor. In fact, we wrote something together and we made fun of my doctor here on Staten Island. But my doctor on Staten Island is like one of these guys. He's a real Trump lover. Every time I go into the office, he just loves to talk about Trump. And I always feel like he's neglecting my health when I go in. As it turns out, this man actually neglected to tell me that I had Lyme disease 6 years ago. And now I mean,
if a doctor is pro-Trump, like you should automatically drop that doctor because that makes him anti-medicine and anti-science.
That's right. That's a solid point.
As a doctor who's anti that and who's pro-Trump.
Right. You're right. So it's my own damn fault that I have Lyme disease. You're right. I should have dropped that asshole right away.
It's not your fault, but although you know how much I love victim blaming, but it's not your fault. But are you okay? I mean, I'm
having neurological issues. I'm not kidding. And this guy, literally, he's like one of the, I always like went to him because he accepts my insurance, GHI. Steve is a retired firefighter, and of course, no one accepts GHI. So I got stuck with this fucking guy and his who leads into the appointment with, can you believe this AOC broad, right? So now I'm stuck with this major conundrum, but I'm working through it. I have, as it turns out, Frank, and then we'll get into the show. But I just wanted to loop you in. The tinnitus that I've been getting has actually been. It's like a side effect of the Lyme disease.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Wow. Because I told you that I have tinnitus, but I don't know if I have Lyme disease or not. But Lyme disease, from what I've read, when it's undiagnosed, it can be really a big problem. So I'm glad
it can. I could actually forget everything that I'm talking about. I can turn into a vegetable. And without further ado, enough about Lyme disease. Let's just segue. There is no segue into this lovely lady. I absolutely love her. I started out doing comedy with her back in the damn late 90s, I think it was. She's Canada's finest, I must say. And Canada's losing their fucking mind. We'll get to that in a second. The hilarious, the genius, the amazing Ophira Eisenberg, everybody.
Oh, hello. Hey, Frank. Hey, Irene. Were you guys talking about Lyme disease?
Yes, I was. I started off the show like that because I'm Greek and we start at the bottom. Yeah. I actually, my doctor overlooked the fact that I had Lyme disease 6 years ago. And he is a Trump lover.
A common story. Yeah. Such a common story, especially with women, because they're like, oh, you're depressed.
You're hysterical. Wow. I mean, wow. This is why I love you, okay? This is exactly what I was telling Steve. You know what it is? They never take women seriously because they think they're hysterical. They're exaggerating.
Yep.
Oh my God, they're emotional, and I can't believe
that's right. Yeah, I have Lyme disease. It's not as sad. Terrible. You're going to get letters.
That's a delicious disease to have.
That is a delicious disease. Frank just said that Chris Christie had key Lyme disease, and I thought that was also a delicious option for me. Ophira, how are you? It's been so long.
I know. A matter of fact, this is how long it's been. Your birthday comes up on social media as it does. And I was like, I'm going to text Irene because she's in my contact list. But hilarious. How long has it been? I mean, basically your email in my contact list was a Yahoo email address.
Oh God. And
I
I
was
no
like,
longer. Yeah. That died years ago. Okay. But our friendship lived on, sweetie. How long ago was it? I think it was like back when we were doing Becky Donahue's B3 shows when no one believed in women. I mean, it's getting a little better now, right? Remember that? Is
it?
Really. No.
There's a backlash at the same time. Nothing can get better.
Yeah.
Nothing gets better with these. Yeah, no, it's a little bit better. But actually, this is, I hate that thing where you reflect on the past and it becomes the golden era because of simple hindsight and forgetting all the garbage.
Periods of like when I was younger, and I know for a fact that I was depressed and worried all the time. And I look back on that, that was a golden time in my life,
Yeah, idyllic.
Yeah.
Right? So, but I feel like the more, in some ways, I invite all conversation, but there is a point where the conversation is so big that it actually works against the problem. Like, I think I actually came to New York in early 2000s.
That's right.
So, and yeah, no one cared about women in comedy, but sort of also good news, no one cared about comedy. You had to try so hard to get people to go to a show. Everyone hated stand-up. Like people would just say, I hate stand-up.
Right. Wow. What an interesting point. You're absolutely right. I remember I had all my friends dressed like strippers because that's the kind of exploitative cunt that I am. Remember that? I don't know if you ever did my show. Of course you did. Hysteria.
Yeah.
I'd be like, if I don't see cleavage, you're not coming to the show. To try to get.
That's why I wasn't booked.
Yes. That's right.
Frank wasn't there. He was freezing his balls off in Minnesota. I'm so sorry, baby.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, and now I think it's better, then I feel then we moved into the era of are women funny? We all had to discuss that for a decade. It turns out the answer is inconclusive. Let's keep talking. Let's keep talking.
Vanity Fair had a whole, Christopher Hitchens wrote an article about how women aren't funny. And this is
That's right.
Highly respected intellectual, and he wrote it in completely serious, and said why he didn't think women were funny, and it was completely acceptable.
Yeah. No, that was a think piece.
Yeah.
Let's talk.
That I remember when Conan Smith, I did call him out, actually said to me nonchalantly, Irene, women are not funny. It was just like a regular, like there's no segue into that. It's just like a statement and everybody uses it and overuses it.
You know what though? There was a great thing I read on Twitter by this very funny comedy writer. I don't know her. I just know her from following that she writes for a lot of shows, Bess Kalb. And she wrote a whole thread about how she read that Christopher Hitchens article and it completely motivated her. And she was like, fuck you. I'm going to have a career in comedy, and kind of, so that was like kind of a really good thing to read.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a fire up for Arabia.
The only thing that is stronger in comedy than hating women is ageism, is hating women that are a little bit older.
What is this? This is blowing my mind. Where have you been?
And believe me, as a 65-year-old man, I have a lot of free time to think about ageism.
He does.
Nobody is fucking hiring me to do anything, so I have a lot of time in my house.
All I have to say is, Ophira, you've just touched on two things that I've been thinking a lot about. First of all, the fact that I have Lyme disease infuriates me, mostly because I know the doctor was thinking I was hysterical, over-exaggerating. You're absolutely right. Women are, I'm sure that if I walked in, I was my husband, I was a man, I wouldn't be in this predicament at all, right? I absolutely know that. And now you're touching on the second thing, ageism. The only thing worse than being a female comic and hating female comics is being a female comic that's aging.
Yes.
Worse
Yeah.
than being a male comic that's aging, Frank. I've got news for you.
Yeah, that's bad too. But women get it, from all sides. They get older, and then it gets harder, and
No, you basically more and more, I think Phyllis Diller, I think Phyllis Diller is hysterical, but not as an outdated kind of approach. Because basically that, I think at a certain point, you just have to become, in order to still find your place, you have to don a outfit, a costume, and a wig, and a persona, and be some extreme kind of proppy character, and then you're back in.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when we started out, everybody just kind of did their own thing. It feels like,
I know.
Everybody just, but then again, we were 20 back then. So, okay, maybe I wasn't, but anyway, the point is, we were young. Now you're absolutely right. Everybody has to try really, really hard. I feel like it's harder for a woman to talk about her experiences as she ages. No one's as interested. And you still have the same things to talk about as a young comic that's talking about her vagina. You may also want to talk about sex. You may also want to talk about relationships, but it's at a different point in your life. Yet for some reason, it's too much, or it's not appealing at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. It becomes about wellness.
Yeah.
So and everyone's like, oh.
And I hate the word wellness. Okay, so this is probably somewhat decent segue for your album, which is called Plant-Based Jokes. You have an album out and a special,
goodness,
which is awesome. So tell us a little bit about that.
So, this is as far as whatever. Been doing stand up forever. Hadn't recorded anything in a very long time. 800 Pound Gorilla Records, which is a comedy label that does a lot of great stand-ups, approached me, before the pandemic. And I was like, I'm going to do all this material that I've been working on all this time, finally in this chunk. And I'm going to record it on April 5th, 2019. So yeah, we know how that went.
Yeah,
did not happen.
Right.
And then the year following, I wouldn't say it was a time of, I didn't create at all during that time, but it wasn't my creative year. That 2000. Yeah, some people talk about thriving during the pandemic, and I understand sort of like the pressure is off, and but I don't want to hear. I don't need to hear from anyone.
You also had your son with you, right?
One thing I hate more than anything is positive spins on the pandemic.
Oh,
don't ever. Someone on Twitter at the time wrote, during the plague, Shakespeare wrote Macbeth.
No.
I'm like,
no.
Fuck you. I watched every episode of Adam 12, and Shakespeare can't say that.
And by the way, by Shakespeare, do you mean that team of writers?
Exactly. Hello.
I'm one of those people.
Shakespeare was the showrunner of his plays.
That's right. So anyway, so we decided once people were going out again, whatever that means, we would try recording this again. So it took a couple years to do it, and then and then it was just editing it and putting it together. It wasn't a lot of editing, but let me tell you something, I'm not working fast anymore, maybe never will again, and nobody else is. So when you're trying to work, I don't know what your experience is, but when you try to work together with some people in a project, well, I think what used to take like a couple months now takes like times two. Yeah, it just and everyone's emailing back and forth,
Yeah, you know what? It's true, because I'm also, my album's with 800 Pound Gorilla Records as well. And it did take literally, I think it took like a year with the emails back and forth and doing this and okaying that. And but it's amazing. I'm so happy that you're putting this stuff out there. And I agree. I didn't find I was very creative during the pandemic either. I was like you, Frank. I was binge watching everything that I could get my hands on, especially because you had your son with you. How old is your son?
Yeah.
I remember when you were pregnant. I think that was the last time I saw you. So how old is he now?
He just turned 6.
Oh my God.
So yeah, he's a real person. He's got his own ideas. So yeah, and having no access to places to go, things to do, school was, I was not cut out for that. I mean, I wasn't even sure most of my life if I was cut out to be a parent at all, but then it happened. And then I was doing the best I could with a small child and using whatever resources I had to help to keep them alive. And also, like, I don't know what I'm doing. I certainly, I'll tell you what I found out. I have no patience. I do not want to be a teacher, no, especially for a preschool or kindergarten, not qualified, don't care. And that's why people have those jobs.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Thank God. And they deserve the most credit because those are hard jobs. Ophira, I feel like you might have been the first one to actually dive in and I feel like many more women they're pregnant, they're having children now, but you were one of the very brave. I think it was an intrepid move to become pregnant when we were doing comedy, because literally people are like, it's going to ruin my career. No, fuck you. You have a career now. You actually can have a career. Back then you literally were.
No, that was it. That was it.
And the balance.
Yeah. So it still does ruin your career, for sure. I mean, it's just different. You can't travel. I mean, like, you can. So this sounds so superficial and maybe even dumb, but the one thing I didn't think about when I was pregnant and thinking about having a child is that I might want to spend time with the child. Mm-hmm. So that really cuts into the rest of your life. Like, I don't know why that didn't factor in, and that it takes time, and that's part of it. And so, you don't want to travel as much because you actually want to be around
your child
for this kid.
There's a lot of guilt. You know what I mean?
Oh,
so hard.
Brutal. Yeah. Brutal. And then, especially in the beginning, if I just was at ends because I was too exhausted, or he was sick, a little cold, like babies get colds and all these things, or it just wasn't working out and I had to cancel a gig, which I never did in my entire life until I had a child. But I wouldn't want to tell a club or a booker that it was because of a child, because I knew that they would just never book me again.
Exactly. And you would lose it, which of course a man would never be held to the same standard.
No. So I would just say, so just so you know, all you bookers that listen to this, I used to say, I got a corporate gig. That was my code I can't do it. I'm a mom.
The ultimate corporate gig, except that corporate gigs are known for paying well, and having a kid is the opposite, probably.
Totally.
Yeah. And so that's okay. They can understand that men mentality, in a sense, like, oh, you're one upping us. Okay, that's fine. But your child's health is failing right now, and you want to cancel? What kind of horse shit is this?
Yeah, but I would like to point out, and I'm sure, like, I'll say them by name. I'm sure Sean, who books Gotham Comedy Club, he's always been cool. But I remember Rich Brooks at Broadway Comedy Club and Amy Hawthorne at New York Comedy Clubs both reached out to me in the beginning and said, listen, if you ever need to cancel because of your kid, totally get it. No questions asked. And I was so grateful for that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You feel like you have somebody in your corner. It's imperative.
I was a younger comedian in the 80s. I remember there was one comedian. He brought his wife and his baby to the comedy club for his gig, and this was in the day. There was no more smoke-filled room in the world than a comedy club back then.
Yeah.
I just thought, he just left the kid in an ashtray in the back of the room. It was just, but you have to figure that stuff out,
Yeah, I do. So, right. And you're right. All of a sudden I was like, oh my goodness, more women have decided to become a parent, whether they had a kid or, many people acquired children, I will say. It's not necessarily.
Exactly.
They acquired children.
Yep. Except for me. I mean, children, it started out that, children would hold me back from my career. Now, as it turns out, my career held me back from having children. So we've come full circle. I'm embracing myself.
I've always been prided myself on self-reliance, and I myself have held back my career. I didn't need any to help me.
Okay, see, yeah,
I
it's a lot
should
of
have my own.
you
You're right. I can always blame my child. That's the one thing I've got.
to blame. You can
But
always
it's
blame your
good.
I
kid.
can take it out on him.
Though, it's good that a woman can have it all. She can have a child and ruin her career.
Yeah,
Both.
is that nice?
Right.
Hope she's wearing heels. She better be smiling.
She better be smiling. Put on some lip gloss, put on those heels, and keep smiling, okay? You know you're feeling an enormous amount of guilt inside.
That's right. And for God's sakes, do not age. Okay? For God's sakes.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And I feel like every comic I look at, like I'm looking at you right now, and you literally have not aged, okay? You have not aged.
Well.
Ophira, don't even look at me like that. You look exactly, if not younger than you did when I saw you like 50 years ago.
First, back at you.
At the risk of being Me Too'd, I just have to say, both of you are fucking knockouts. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
Thank you. There is no such thing as Me Too at our age. It's more like me. What about Me Too? There's like a desperate inflection. Are you kidding me?
That's right. We were like, I don't know. Will that get me another show? I mean, yeah, terrible thing to say. Terrible thing to say. And I know that was rampant when I moved to New York. Rampant.
Oh,
Gatekeepers offering all.
Canada. You were just so, what the hell is going on? You're like Canada's finest. You came here with your little tail wagging, all happy, right?
I know.
Talking little Canadian.
All bouncy.
You're all bouncy and sweet and full of life. Now, what the hell is happening in Canada, Ophira? It feels
my goodness. I know it is. It is quite a surprise to Americans, I think, to find out that there are right-wing Canadians. I think there's like this idea.
Canadians, exactly.
I don't like the idea of right-wing. I always thought Canada was like all the nice people were there.
I know, and that it was very homogeneous, but no. I mean, Alberta, where I grew up, is very right-wing.
Are you from Alberta? Yes, you are right, because I went to college with a boy from Alberta, and he is also very right-wing. It's amazing.
Yeah. So, I mean, and this happens, as we know from economics point of view, in natural resource based economies, you get more of a economic kind of right-wing mentality, and also a distrust of the government sometimes follows hand in hand in indigenous populations. With Canada, it's with the French population, of course, because they are a minority in Canada and always feeling like they are not represented. Mm-hmm. Alberta oil too. That's the basis of Alberta, oil and cattle. So it really is the Texas of Canada. It's super right wing.
You're right.
Really is
exactly like the text that explains, my friend, a lot. Thank you for that.
Really?
You just profiled him. Absolutely. It really explains everything that he is. I mean, look, we went to college together. Again, you don't know who somebody is until you know who they are. You know what I mean? There's a lot of hair thing going on. Like Frank said, we didn't realize that Canadians can be as equally as dumb as Americans, but with what's going on now, with Canada and, this started out with
like been our greatest resource for hilariously, brilliantly funny people.
Mm-hmm. That was our one of our main exports.
Absolutely. And when this whole trucker thing, and they were doing blockades, and I said, whatever you do, do not keep the SCTV from coming into America. Which is like my favorite show of all time. So,
oh my goodness.
That's the real horror. Yeah. So what's going on? So now it started off as simple stuff like truckers needed to get vaccinated, which is not outrageous if you're crossing the US Canadian border. That's not asking for a lot.
And I it was mostly the idea of entering America. I don't think you have to be I'm pretty sure you still don't have to be vaccinated. I don't know what the deal was with the truckers, but I know as a traveler, you just have to present proof of a negative antigen test.
Okay.
But on the way back in, as a commercial trucker, I think that might be still the situation. But to come back into Canada, you had to present vaccination.
You have to present vaccination. And now Trudeau is calling the, what is it called? The Emergency Act. He's invoking it.
Yeah.
88. And I mean, he's freezing. I wish they did this shit with the American Patriots. Fucking Ivanka, that twat. Anyway, the insurrectionist.
And by the way, the one thing you don't realize when you see all of the kind of crazed American, like, Fox News coverage of the trucker thing is that vaccines are very popular in Canada. It's not like they've
No.
captured the mood of the nation. Most people in Canada and in America too,
Yes.
we don't like wearing masks, but we wear them. We don't whine about it the way some of these people do, and we are all for vaccines. But it's this kind of, these people are portrayed as like, they're expressing the frustrations of a nation. Canada, to its credit, they fucking hate these people too. So.
Oh yeah, no. So right, they're going to seize their wages.
Right. I mean, they're really, it's brilliant. Like, why didn't we think about that? He's going right with he's freezing their accounts, right? And what else is he doing? He's also I think he's also suspending their car insurance. I mean, he's getting the wages because I think they raised they did like a GoFundMe for truckers of some sort. They got like $8.2 million in donations or something around that amount.
All these rich people that want to throw their money, if only, use your power for good. But and I know plenty of Canadians who support this. So funny because I have family throughout Canada and they all have their different viewpoints and they all watch their own news source. So I have some of my family that is like, yeah, as they should. This is ridiculous. I would be protesting in Ottawa if I had the opportunity because I'm sick of these lockdowns and, it's against my freedom or my business is failing. And then I have the other side of it who says, well, if you really read the news closely, most of those truckers are Americans. It's not the Canadians at all, which I'm like, what? No. Just blame it back. They're not even Canadians. Don't even come on now.
Thank God you don't celebrate Thanksgiving, sweetie. That would be awkward, right? That's one thing to be grateful for on Thanksgiving, actually.
That's right. So, but yeah, the Canadian, they're also, I will say Ontario and Quebec, especially since everyone's approach to the pandemic is just like in America instead of state by state, province by province. And Ontario and Quebec were in pretty hardcore lockdown throughout most of December and January. And I also just think people broke. Like people just broke.
People broke,
couldn't
baby.
handle it.
Right. Absolutely. I think, I know that people are broke everywhere, even here.
Oh yeah. Someone was like, why do you think the airline industry is not bouncing back? I'm like, no one has any money. Maybe that's part of it.
Money. Even as comics, like when you go, since I've been working, like everything is cut in half now.
Oh yeah. Oh, this was great. This is brilliant. This on to that. I call it. We all live in Spirit Airlines now. Our entire lives are Spirit Airlines. Everything. It's like all of a sudden, we don't have enough money for this. We don't have enough money for that. I was in Cincinnati a few days ago for a show right before the Super Bowl. Sorry, Cincinnati. And I was in a hotel where nobody was wearing a mask, and living in New York where we're still doing that, especially in public spaces, freaked me out. Yeah. But no one was wearing a mask. There's no mask mandate there of any sort. But they were like, we just want to let you know there's no housekeeping because of COVID. And I was like, there's no housekeeping because of COVID, but no masks because of we're done?
Exactly.
So which is it? Which is it? Oh, the one that saves money? Got it.
Exactly. So they're cutting back on everything. It's crazy. Well, I'm sure Frank, it's a shame that Frank's housekeeper doesn't live in Cincinnati. As you can see,
my housekeeper had COVID though, but she did, and she only missed 1 week because I demanded that she come back. No, I'm kidding. She just missed, and then she was back a week later, and she was fine. But
Frank,
you're like, just click the mask.
She's vaccinated. She's boosted, and so she got COVID, and it was a total pain and totally awful to get it, but it didn't kill her. So she was able to come and serve my needs as a slob
and clean up after you, so you don't look so
after me, which gives meaning to her life.
Of course.
Clean up after my.
Of course, if that is an incentive to beat COVID, I don't know what the fuck is.
Yeah.
You guys, did you get COVID at all? I know, Frank, you didn't get any COVID. Ophira,
I did.
Me too.
Oh yeah, baby.
Oh, you got, I didn't know that. I know Irene got it. And
Yeah, I got the original. I got OG.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you got OG? I got D. I got the Delta. Yeah.
Oh, you got the Delta. Yeah, so we're basically in the same camp. Although when I got it, so it was December of 2020. Yeah, that would be right. And I said the dates wrong for things. Anyways, you know what dates things are. I've lost track of years. COVID started in 2020, right? COVID started in 2020?
Me too.
yeah,
I
think.
Jeez. Right. Okay. So then my album recorder, listeners, please know that my album recording was supposed to be April 2020. I said 19. I was off by a year because I don't know what year it is.
Oh, shit. I was going to say 19. That did sound kind of weird to me. Okay. So it was 2020 and it's dropping now. So it's not only an album. Let's circle back to that. So it's not only an album, which will be on every single platform.
Everything.
Absolutely everything, but it's also a special. Let's talk about that.
As you know, as people that work in the audio field, audio is nothing without video.
Who wants to watch a porn without you just listening to it? Oh, maybe
that's right. You're like, who said that?
What was that?
Yeah, exactly. I don't see the facial expression of disgust, so I don't know what to do. So we got a couple cameras and recorded it. And actually in the beginning, I'm a great sabotager of myself. And in the beginning I was like, no, we'll just use them for social clips to advertise it. And then nicely, someone that worked at that company was like, why are you throwing it away a little bit?
Yeah.
You know, they're like, why don't you throw it? Just go through it. And so I was like, all right.
Yeah.
So then it was watching a video, and it's pretty hard to, I find it's very humbling to produce your own stand-up special. You know, I'm working with an editor, but you got to direct the edit.
I'm clapping for you.
Thanks.
I love it. You know, I always have such a fervent love for anybody, especially women in this business, that dig in and fucking do shit for themselves. You're not waiting for anybody to help you. You did this on your own. You should be incredibly proud of yourself, you know, because it's a big deal. And it's amazing. And it is hard. You know, it is humbling, like you said. But at the same time, it's like, shit, you said you weren't productive in 2020, but apparently you weren't exactly sitting around, doing nothing, because you not only have an album coming out, you also have a special coming out. Now, where is the special going to drop, actually?
So, good question. So it will be streaming. So 800 Pound Gorilla Records will drop and distribute it. And so they do it through their streaming platform, which is, you know, a YouTube streaming platform that is all decorated and what have you. And that gets placed in different markets, I suppose.
Yes, it does.
I will learn more about this as it goes, because I think that also depends on how they want to market it.
Right. And
I will learn. Yeah.
You will learn, but you did this.
Where did you record it?
So I recorded it at New York Comedy Club, the one in Gramercy, for many reasons. I will tell you, it was an emotional choice. The non-emotional choice is that they are wired to go. So for comics, that's amazing. They are wired to go for high quality audio recording.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people actually do film tape their specials there.
Yes. Also, it is, we were all just I wanted a room. I didn't want a huge room because I was just worried about selling it, especially because people were still pretty, I think so I did it in early fall, and I feel like we were sort of, you know, the summer had passed and there was Delta, it was we were all over the place. So I was worried about getting hundreds of people in a room, and you want to do 2 shows so you have lots of material to work with. So I was like, this is a smallish room. You know, I think capacity is 120 there. And it sounds, it's a black box. So the way the sound comes back at you from the point of view of a comic is very appealing. It sounds
I'm sure you got a great turnout too, because I mean, you actually have a really devoted following.
Mm-hmm. You do.
Yeah, I think so. There is some people. There is some people. So it was so nice. I mean, in a weird way, it felt like a reunion and a birthday, and I saw.
Party. Yeah.
So, I mean, we didn't party because everyone was still like, this was our party. And then we went home.
Yes.
But I saw so many people that I hadn't seen in years. I mean, and I was so grateful of that because I know how much it takes to get out of the house.
Yeah, oh, it does. I mean, honestly, I can't believe that I've since the pandemic, I'm like, oh, I have to get out, but then I've become slightly a shut-in now too.
Everybody.
Oh, really? Oh, I thought it was just.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a total shut-in, so I'm glad things have returned to normal. But
right. I mean, honestly, Irene, I think if you're not like just trying to go out there and sleep with someone, anyone who is not going out there, and even some of those people that are like, you know what, I'm not even motivated to go out and sleep. But unless you're,
I'm staying home and trying not to sleep with someone. That's what I'm doing the opposite. You know what I'm talking about. You've been married for 5,000 years.
Oh, yeah. Yes, totally. It's like, what corner of the room should I stand in now?
I thought it was just me, though. I really have a hard time getting motivated. Like, a part of my brain is like, you need to get out and just live a little. And the other part is, oh my God, I do like a countdown back to bed type of thing. I'm like,
oh, yeah.
3 hours.
Oh, yeah.
There, we'll start doing that. And then it's going to be, by the time I get home, it's going to be 10:30. I can brush, you know what I mean? I start like actually time slotting the whole time.
I do the exact same thing.
Something very appealing to me about not having anywhere to go, and where you just get up and I'm just going to go for a walk, and then I'm going to come home, and I'm going to and there's no big agenda. There's I mean, I really miss being on the road and doing shows, but I so don't miss going to the airport and waiting to get all that stuff has been out of my life for 2 years now. But I would love to have it come back into my life, and I hope it does. But it's relaxing to not not have to deal with anything.
It's like you want to teleport yourself on stage, because all the things leading up to a gig are like torture for me still. I'm sorry. I'm like, oh, well, I want to work. And then I'm like, oh God, I got to get there. You know what I mean? It's always complaining.
You are preaching the converted too, because I remember like outdoor shows started and I was like, can I just do the ones I can walk to? Like as soon as I was back on the subway all the time to race to spots, I was like, this is a terrible quality of living.
Yeah, it really
this is a terrible quality of living.
Just the word spot, Ophira, to a woman, spotting is fucking horrifying in itself, okay? It's not positive, okay?
Spots.
Running around spotting, we are. It's a lot.
I wanted to start a band called of all female band called the Spotters.
I love it.
That's a great name, actually, even out of
context. Oh God, I was flipping around channels yesterday. I was dying laughing because I looked on cable and there's this horror film called Menopause. And I'm like, it's this woman. She looks. It's really hilarious. It's on Netflix. It's called Menopause. And I just started cracking up. And I'm like, oh, there goes the title of my one-person show. So,
no, not too late. All derivative works. You don't know. All derivative works are still open. Still open. But I did. Sorry, I was just going to say, I did find in the beginning that audiences were just so happy to see you that you would go through the motions of like, oh my God, and put on the thing and get to the place. And then the reception would just be so unbelievably lovely.
It was still great after the show,
Yeah.
That's what's happened to me.
But as soon as,
then you go back home.
Right. As soon as I see someone though, like, on their cell phone or complaining about not getting their drink fast enough, I'm like, out.
Me too, sweetie. I'm right there with you. Like you said, preaching to the converted, because it's a lot, I mean, it's the energy. I find that the audiences have loosened up, but in the beginning, when I started going out and doing stand-up, or maybe it was just me, actually, it could be just me. People were just resistant. Like they were still in a weird, like uncomfortable spot because they hadn't been to a show for a while.
Yeah.
And it was, they were kind of like just, well, maybe it was because they were wearing masks and I could see the judgment in their eyes. Maybe that was what it was. Actually.
I mean, no, I do say with the masks, everyone just looks so disappointed in you. That's all I see is disappointment. But I do think in the beginning, you know how I used to make fun of hosts that would do this, and it's been a while, but when I first started stand up, I feel like hosts would go out there and basically teach people how to be at a comedy show. They'd be like, okay, you know, like you have to listen, like all that kind of stuff. You have to listen, and the energy you give us is what we give you. And it would be running them through, and, you know, make sure you laugh out loud, and, you know, now we're going to clap. It was all of this sort of like, I'd be like, why are we and then came back from the pandemic, and I was like, oh yeah, these people need to be taught.
Yeah.
They have they have no idea how this works anymore.
I appreciate it.
No idea.
That's a really good point, because I appreciate it when the host goes out and does that. But now what's happening, our hosts jump on stage and they just do their set without giving any sort of instruction to the audience. You know what I mean? And that's part of a host's job, is to kind of talk them through bad behavior. You know, like, don't do this.
When it comes to being a good audience at a comedy club, a lot of people prefer to be homeschooled. So
totally. Absolutely. And they want to know their parameters. Like, they really, I'm always surprised at how well people respond to rules, because I just assume that they don't want rules. Like, that is the whole part of what it is to like walk around and go to a comedy club, you know, but they want to be told. They're like, here's how it's going to work. You're going to clap now. Here in between, you're going to respect the performance. They're like, oh, I never thought of that.
When I started, in the 80s, when I started doing comedy in Minneapolis, I was lucky enough to MC a lot. I just got in at this club, and I MC'd like every show. I didn't get paid any money, and I like seated people. I tore tickets, and I just got stage time, and it was so good for me. But the thing is when you're the MC, and if you play that role well, like and I did do my material as an MC, and I did work on my act, but I noticed that like afterwards, like the audience doesn't even really think of you as one of the much, you know.
Right.
And
totally.
And a lot of MCs, I even hear them say this. I never would say this when I was an MC. They go, after they do their set, they're like, okay, now are you ready for your first comedian?
Yeah.
So
first comedian.
Wow.
Yes,
know?
I host a lot too, and I have I had to teach myself not to say that. Basically devalue your whole thing.
Yourself like you're unworthy. Hosting is the hardest job. When I first started stand up, I hosted every single show, and it helped me grow so much. I don't like doing it now though. It's really horrifying. Like, I really don't even want to go out there and start getting the crowd. I've become selfish. How long have we been doing this? All of us, we've been doing it forever.
Years.
Yeah.
You know, so I just want to go up there and just get the fuck out. You know, the days of like, I'm going to watch your set. Those are gone. I'm not going to stick around for that extra 3 hours. You know, I mean,
actually, you know, it's funny you say that, because I was reflecting on this because I was feeling kind of that sort of heaviness of like, man, I just want to roll in, stay at a really nice hotel, like everybody wants it, stay at a really nice hotel, be appreciated by my audience, and get out of there, you know? Yeah. And then I was reflecting on doing a gig, I think it was in St. Louis, like a long time ago. And we were staying at, I think it was a Westin, but I had like the shittiest room at a Westin, which is possible.
Which is pretty horrible already, because it's a Westin.
Yeah, so, right. And the comedy club was just beside it. And somehow I went to the bar after my show at the hotel and was having a drink. And I ended up talking to someone there who was a speaker. So they're like, oh, you do stand up? I also make a living talking, but I'm a speaker. And they were speaking at for some corporate thing, a block in the other direction. And they were staying in like the VIP lounge or VIP suite of the Westin, and being flown first class, and, you know, made probably like 15,000 times what I was making at the comedy club. And I was just like, what? How do how is this so devalued?
Yeah, how do you get in on that cushy? speaker thing, or being a comedian. I want to get a cushy humorist job, 'cause
Right.
Yeah.
I know. It's just like, oh, because I don't have a cult. The end of my set is thank you so much, not like, no, go sell. Like I don't
Right.
end with a call to action.
even and I feel like I should get those better hotel rooms and stuff because I've done a lot of shows that started as stand-up comedy and became public speaking.
All right.
Those are my favorite.
That would be great. That if it became, because that's like the joke, like, oh, when something's not doing well, and they're like, how did this turn into a TED Talk or whatever?
Right.
It would be like,
it evolves into a TED Talk or devolves.
like, if that happens, there should just be an extra zero added to your paycheck.
Exactly.
That's amazing. It's never fair. Comics always get the short end of the stick. Even TikTok now, a lot of comics are on TikTok, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to believe this one. I see that comics that have been doing comedy for like 20, 30 years. They've been on every TV show. They'll have like 100 followers, get 200 views. My cousin's dog joins TikTok. This is a true story. In 3 seconds flat, he fucking goes viral and he gets an agent. He's on Fox News, so now I hate him. He was on Fox 5 just 2 days ago. They were featuring him. He has an agent. The dog, yeah. My cousin calls me up. She sees me struggling as a comic, and she's like, Mello went viral. And I was like, go fuck yourself, you and Mello. He's on Fox 5.
Oh, my God.
Back. Where was he? I was picking up his shit all these years. He won't even give me a follow back. He went viral. She's making money from her dog. And
yep. Yeah, for sure. I mean, right. People have told me to exploit my son more on. And
my biggest social
scared of that.
media responses have always been pictures of my cats. I can
Yes.
best joke ever.
Cats.
One picture of Millie and I get 1 million likes and people go crazy,
I mean, now that's what it's built for. That we shouldn't push against it. We should understand what this medium is about.
Right.
And it's not for good writing. I mean, like, I think I follow some funny people on Twitter, as I'm sure we all do. And there are things that come by and I just go, wow, that is the economy of words you use to say that is like it's crafty and funny. And I love it. But also, it's not meant for that. That's just like a little, we just found like a little sorbet in there.
Right.
There's a young woman on TikTok who I actually really enjoy, and she has like 1 million followers. All she does is eat food. That's all she does.
Right.
Has a meal, but she's very kind of delightful as she does it. But she doesn't try to be funny or anything. She just like eats like Chipotle and goes, oh, that's so good. And like she has 1 million followers.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of peds on that going, just chew slower as you
Oh, yeah. You are so right, Irene. So I guess what she's doing today.
Chipotle. No,
well,
but
I
you're
guess
right.
I called myself out just now anyway.
You did call yourself out. It's almost like, you know what it is? The platform is for decompression. People tune in to tune out. So when you go on TikTok, you don't want to see somebody, that's too ambitious or trying too hard, or it's the truth. Like a lot of my friends, like Jennifer, for example, Frank knows Jennifer Esposito. She would say, Irene, what do you think I do? I go on, I look up dog videos because you can't really compete against a dog, even though I got very jealous of Mello and he can suck my tit. I can't believe this dog went viral in 5 seconds of being on TikTok. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I think you're right. We just have to accept the platform for what it is,
Yeah. You want to do something more interesting, then you gotta put it up, like write an article for Medium, or you gotta do it. Yeah. Or do this. Like that's what podcast, you gotta work. So I know.
Or push medical misinformation in a podcast.
That's true too. You can do that. You can push the misinformation.
Though I had a little insight into that because I am, of course, just like disgusted by all of that. And then I decided to read my horoscope. I don't know, because that's a trendy thing to do right now. And
I love you, Ophira. I want you back on this goddamn show. I miss you so much. I want to hug you. Okay.
And then I read my horoscope and I didn't really like it, actually. And so I thought, oh, I'll just read another place. I'll go to a different place, and maybe that's a horoscope that I'm going to trust. And so I went to like another place, and I didn't really like that one too, and I didn't think it was worded correctly. And before I know it, then I'm like, who does Oprah say is a good astrologer? 90 minutes pass of me like reading my Capricorn horoscope on different sites all throughout the World Wide Web till I settle on one that is positive and says that shit's going to work out for me. And I was like, that's the one I'm doing. And I was like, oh my God, what have I just done? I've just done the thing that I accuse everyone else from doing.
Right.
It's just with astrology.
You're doing your own research.
You're doing your own research.
That's right. And I decided the one I like, and that's the one I'm going to follow. That's the real one. That is not fake news. That's real news.
I'm going to find exactly the right horoscope that will confirm that Seth Rich was murdered.
Right. Maybe we just need to start putting all the real medical information in astrology. Like, hey, Taurus, thought about getting that booster? This is your week.
That's a great idea, actually.
That is really funny.
People should be telling Biden to do that.
Yeah, that's hysterical, and it's true. And it's true, sweetie. So we're running out of time. This has been so much fun. I want to have you.
Oh my God.
This has been
anytime.
You have been pure joy, sweetie. So once again, let's recap the album, what it's called, where people can find it, upcoming gigs. Go, sweetie, go.
Everything. So if you want to follow me on the socials, I do update them. I'm at Ophira E on Instagram and Twitter. TikTok to come. I'll say that. TikTok to come. But most importantly, you can follow me at Ophira on Venmo. You know what I mean. Okay. Yeah. Plant-Based Jokes is the name of my new album and special. It is going to drop. Right now we're in February. It's actually going to drop at the end of March. So just you have something to look forward to, and you can find out all about it on my socials or OphiraEisenberg.com.
Yay. I can't wait. I'm so excited for you, and I love you. Thank you so much for coming on. Frankie boy, what's coming up for you?
What's coming up for me is what's coming up for you too.
Oh, good. I was testing you.
is what the kids call a comedy concert. We're going to be doing at the Duplex, right?
That's right. The Duplex. We're doing a show. We want you to come. It's It's the iconic Duplex cabaret. They redid it. It's amazing. It's going to be me, Frank Conniff, John Fugel saying, "What more can you want?" It's on February 26th at 9:30 p.m. Get your tickets ahead of the show. They're $5 cheaper if you do.
You guys, you're putting the band back together. You're putting the band back together.
That's right. We're putting it back together. Anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in. I love you, Ophira. Thanks so much.
Love you, Irene. Thank you, Frank. Love you, Frank.
We're going to be on John Fugel saying show later tonight. Tell Me Everything, Sirius XM channel 127. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you soon, everybody. Mwah.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Mother May I podcast with Frank and Irene on Strong Island Entertainment. Check us out next week when Frank and Irene sit down with, you know what? I don't know what these two are going to do next, but we'll see you next week.